Hey folks, this is John Miller, Executive Editor with WV News. We would like to welcome you to Ask the Experts, featuring John Halterman of Beacon Wealth Management. John is the founder, owner, and certified wealth strategist at Beacon Wealth Management. You can find out more at bwmwv.com. And now live from the studios of the Exponent Telegram in Clarksburg, West Virginia, let's Ask the Expert. Welcome to Ask the Expert with John Halterman of Beacon Wealth Management. John, one of the questions we get from our audience is about long-term care. People are living longer, but sometimes health issues and other factors impact those lives. So how can people be better prepared for what old age might bring?
Well, John, I think the very first thing is what you just said. They've got to realize it's real. Because people, I think, are still in somewhat denial, unless they've had a relative go to a nursing home, that long-term care could take everything you saved all your life and all of a sudden erase it. I had this conversation with a son of a client today whose family had over $2 million. And now today he's a disabled child who thought he was going to be taken care of. Unfortunately, because both parents had long-term care, both of them lost a majority of their lifetime savings. And he was saying that, not that I knock my parents because it was them first, but unfortunately, nothing protected them from losing those long-term care, those assets to long-term care. So definitely addressing it and identifying that it's real is first step in that.
We've talked about this before, but, some people find it very difficult to do, even especially between family members. Having someone like yourself step in there and be able to look things at a practical aspect of it has to have a tremendous value.
Absolutely does. It is one of the essential steps that we believe is part of wealth management, because the one thing I know is that nobody in their right mind ever wants to go to a long-term care facility. But the thing is, you got to be able to say, okay, how can I plan for this? And one way, of course, is the traditional way, which is actually going out and buying insurance, such as long-term care insurance. Unfortunately, for most people, though, by the time they think about it, it's a little bit late in their life, and so they have some health problems, and the cost is very high. If a person could get it at a relatively younger age, then it definitely is a good alternative. Another alternative that people think about is using trust. You can take assets and put them into trust. The negative, though, there is a negative, is that you eliminate control of those assets. Because the one thing we know, in order to be eligible for government assistance on that type of stuff, you can't have assets you control. And so by putting them in trust, you might protect these assets to some degree, but you limit what you can do with them from that point on. Another alternative, which is one I really, really like, and this is this. We take people all the time, they'll say, hey, John, I got $100,000 in a CD, or I have $200,000. It's not really doing a lot for me. What can I do with that money? And a lot of times they're saying, okay, one of my objectives is I want to wealth transferred. I want to get it in the hands of my children, but I also want tax advantages. At the same time, what I may want is I want to be able to get access to it and protect me against long-term care. So that is a tool. There's tools out there that can actually do that.
But can you go into a little bit more depth what those tools might be?
Yeah, absolutely. What that tool is that's actually life insurance with an accelerated benefits rider. And whether you use that, see, a lot of times people misconceive what life insurance is. We think of life insurance when we have small children as a way to protect our family if we die early. But when we get older, life insurance is an amazing wealth transfer tool. And the number one reason is mainly because it's a tax-free death benefit. So unlike an IRA, let's say you get $1 million IRA, well, that's taxable to your family as if you earn it right now. But if you get $1 million life insurance, that's 100% tax-free and no probate. So it goes directly to the beneficiaries. It settles immediately. But here's the cool thing. So let's say you use a single premium, like I just described, where you have $100,000, $200,000. Well, you could take this single premium, put it into this life insurance. Now what happens, it gets a face amount, depending on your health, depending on age, and there's various factors, but it's going to be definitely a multiple. And so let's say it's a 2 to 3 times multiple. Well, right from day one, what we know is that if you pass away, your family's going to get this death benefit regardless of whether there's growth or not in the investment. The other thing, let's say you go into a nursing home, and this is what we're talking about is how do we protect ourselves against long-term care? Well, it has an accelerated benefits rider. And what that accelerated benefits rider does, it allows you to use it to help pay for those nursing home costs or those critical care costs. And so what happens is that you end up giving up part of the death benefit. So let's say for simplicity, you had $1 million death benefit and you had to use $500,000 of the benefit to pay for these other things. You won't get that full $1 million because you used half of the benefit. But the niceness is that now you have options, because in regular long-term care, if you don't use it, you may not get anything out of it. Here, if you do use it, you get to use it for your family and take care of you while you're in the nursing home. But also, if you don't use it, it's tax-free death benefit to your heirs.
Now once you put that into that type of program, and let's say you have to draw it out,
Yep.
then is that taxable?
So if you put money into it, okay, that establishes what we call cost basis. So let's say for simplicity, you take a lump sum, $100,000, $200,000, and you put it into that. Well, if you go to withdraw the money and you take out the cost basis is not taxable. Any earnings on it, though, would be taxable as ordinary income, just like any other type of investment. But definitely the cost basis can come back out and you have access to it. So what people say, well, wait a minute. If this is so phenomenal, why wouldn't everybody do it? Well, it boils down to people don't understand it. And in fairness, I want to make sure I clarify. There's a trade-off for every single thing. What I mean about this is, let's say you put this money in, you have this death benefit. Well, if you go and take money out, it's definitely going to reduce the death benefit. And so any move, whether it's taking money out, using it for long-term care, or whatever, is going to impact its death benefit in the end. And so you just got to make sure that if you're going to use it, number one, you got to understand what it's designed for and how it works. And of course, not all life insurances have accelerated benefits riders. Almost every week, I talk to 4 or 5 new retirees, and I'll ask them, I'll say, hey, do you know if your life insurance, if your existing life insurance has an accelerated benefits? Rarely does anyone even know what that is. And then once we do know, rarely do they ever have those benefits on there, because it's something that you have to add on. And it's a relatively newer benefit too.
John, I tell you what, you always bring something to the table that I'm not aware of. That was excellent information. Is there anything else about long-term care that you think our audience needs to know about?
You know what? I think the biggest thing, like all planning, is get your head out of the sand. And I say that not in a mean way. I tell people, the more you're aware of planning, the better off you're going to be. Because the one thing you said it earlier about families communicating. You know, families have a tendency, it's not until after the fact. And so what I tell people is you've got to get your estate planning documents in order. One of the most critical documents is going to be your durable medical powers of attorney. Because let's say, as an example, all of a sudden you become ill and you're in a nursing home, but nobody has power of attorney for you. They can't act upon your behalf to do simple things such as paying your bills. Because a lot of times people think, well, I don't want someone to make a health care decision for me yet. Well, it's not just about that. It's about the ability to act responsible for you. And so what I tell people is the sooner you can do that, because, you know, I just saw a survey this morning, and it's like 68% of people don't even have any form of estate planning. And long-term care is one of the biggest, most dangerous, and most costly things that can happen to your estate. So the sooner you address just the simple things as having those documents, the better off you're going to be.
Well, John, thank you again for joining us on Welcome to Ask the Experts. John Halterman of Beacon Wealth Management. Until next time, have a great day. Ask the Experts, featuring John Halterman of Beacon Wealth Management. John is the founder, owner, and certified wealth strategist at Beacon Wealth Management. You can find out more at bwmwv.com.